Adguru Namaha, Jagadguru Namaha, Satguru Namaha, Sri Gurudeva Namaha. Adguru Namaha, Jagadguru Namaha, Satguru Namaha, Sri Gurudeva Namaha. Adguru Namaha, Jagadguru Namaha, Satguru Namaha, Sri Gurudeva Namaha. My name is Guru Fatha Singh, and I'm a teacher of Kundalini Yoga. And just a few days ago, I made a video about why we should not teach Kundalini Yoga online, according to Yogi Ji. And we got quite a lot of response, quite a lot of discussion from that. So I'm furthering on from that. I'm going to give you 5 reasons not to teach Kundalini Yoga online. And at the end, I'm going to suggest how, in a pandemic situation, in a quarantine situation, you can still keep your community together if you're a teacher, and still transmit teachings without endangering your health or going against the guidance of the Sri Singh Sahib, which is all in the interest of keeping your health. And without health, we're in trouble. We want to be healthy, happy, holy, right? So let me just review. Yogi Bhajan gave that directive not that long ago. It wasn't in the 1800s, before the internet. So he was very cognizant. He knew what the internet does and what it doesn't do, what it can do and what it can't. And he gave a specific direction: do not transmit Kundalini Yoga, do not teach Kundalini Yoga over the phone or over the internet. Okay, so you can take that or leave it. I've quoted the Sri Singh Sahib in the previous video. You can go there if you like, but that's done, right? So we'll go on to the second point. And before I do that, let me suggest to you, if you have had the experience of teaching Kundalini Yoga, you just didn't know, and you're having bad health effects, go to the Guru Ramdas Healing Center in New Mexico, grdcenter.org, CENTER, the English spelling, and they can help you out. Okay, they know what this syndrome is, and they can help you out. All right, so that's if that's happened. Number 2, let's talk about teaching Kundalini Yoga offline and what that is, what the dynamic is about that. Yogi Bhajan gave a talk once about the greatest meditation, and he described the greatest meditation as preparing to have an audience with your teacher, your spiritual teacher, your spiritual guide. And he said, you can, this is a romance. It's a kind of a romance you have between your soul and the great person who is guiding you on this soulful path. And so you enter them into your prayers, and you look forward to your union, your coming together to meet them and to take guidance from them. You can do that days in advance, Just really build up to it. Just make a big deal of it, because it is a big deal. In our culture, we make big deal about lotteries and God knows what. But meeting your spiritual teacher is huge, right? So treat it with a lot of reverence and preparation, yeah? And then you go and you come into the audience, have the audience of your teacher, and you're open and you're shining and you're receptive, and you can learn something from them, right? So there's a whole process of coming into the presence, physically coming into the presence of your teacher. I'll tell you a story from the time of Guru Arjan. So at the time when he was married, okay, he was quite young when he became Guru, but then he married Ganga, Mata Ganga, we call her. And they had a prayer which was not answered. They wanted a child, right? And Ganga especially wanted a child. And they were not getting it. And so, her husband was the Guru. She could pray to her husband, but that wasn't going to work under these circumstances. He said, go find Baba Buddha. Baba Buddha is out in the forest. He meditates. He was around when Guru Nanak was around. He's a wise old soul. He can help you. And so Mata Ganga? She said, sure, let's go. I'll do anything, right? And so she goes with her entourage, and she gets her carriage, and the entourages, everybody has their horses and everything all loaded up, and off they go into the forest to see Baba Buddha. And Baba Buddha, he's off there, and he sees the dust coming up because there's this whole parade coming to see him, and he doesn't receive Mata Ganga. He says, go back. This is too much. This is a big parade. This is not the right way. And so she's confused. Her husband, the guru, told her to go see Baba Buddha, and Baba Buddha won't receive her. And so she asks the guru, what was that all about? I mean, I followed your instruction, and he sent me away. And Guru Arjan said, no, you went with all your entourage and your paraphernalia and your regalia and blah, blah, with a lot of pride. That's not the way you go to your spiritual teacher. That's not where you go if you want to receive something. You go in humility, right? And so next time she walked, she didn't have an entourage. She just went by herself, and Baba Buddha gave her instruction, and her prayers were answered. So there's a question of approach, and so the approach, going to a class to be with your teacher and to learn something. And by the way, if you're a Kundalini Yoga teacher, I hope you can see yourself as a spiritual teacher, not just a phys ed teacher, This is, Kundalini Yoga is a spiritual art and science. And so you've set yourself up, and you had a spiritual teacher, or maybe you don't acknowledge your spiritual teacher anymore. That's another story. We'll touch on that. But basically, it's a spiritual science, Kundalini Yoga, and you are a spiritual teacher, all right? And so it's very special that people come to see you. And I did an experiment. I'm old enough, I'm semi-retired, and I spend a lot of time in private writing and researching. So economically, I don't need anybody, to come see me and give me money for classes. And so when people bothered me about classes, after COVID, I said, well, you want to do a hard training? You want to come to my level? I'm not doing beginner's yoga anymore. And I said, moreover, I'm busy, I'm not going to go any place. I'm not going to go to a center. You come to me, come to my house. And that way it takes less of my time, and we can get this job done. And I was surprised, We got some people, a few, not a lot, but who said, yeah, they would come. For the first 6 months of this course, they're coming to my house. And it was very interesting, I felt, myself, I felt humbled, that they are coming. Some came significant distances, driving a long time to get here. But the question is, if you reduce this to an online activity, this is going to be one activity of many that people do online. They're going to have their news channel, they're going to have their cartoon channel, they're going to have their shopping channel, they're going to have their porn channel, they're going to have their cartoon channel, and you're going to be just one of many things that they just scroll to, and they're going to go to, and it's going to come into their house with no effort. That's not the dynamic of Kundalini Yoga. Even if they find you boring, they can do split screen, and on the one side they can have you, on the other side they have the cartoon, and just keep the entertainment aspect going. This is not Kundalini Yoga as taught by Yogi Bhajan. Kundalini Yoga, you have to pay for the class, remember? And you had to go. Even for our solstices, we had to go long distances, very long distances, to see our teacher. If you want to see the Golden Temple, it's even a greater distance. God is inside, no question about that. But the God realization requires a teacher to help you to get there. And acknowledging that teacher and giving respect to that teacher and going to that teacher is part of the relationship, part of the learning relationship, part of your own self-growth. If you can acknowledge that, if you can get your head around that. Yeah? So, now if you're a teacher, and you put the word out and say to people, okay, we're not going to go online anymore. You have to come to me. And if nobody wants to come, well, that tells you something too. I mean, that tells you that you've got to do some more sadhana. You know, you've got to make yourself more radiant. Yeah, objective, we say, is to become 10 times greater than your teacher, right? And maybe you're just not there yet. People don't see you in that light. And so, what's the hurry? You know, ideally, why do you want to make all your money out of, put all your eggs in one basket as a teacher? You know, maybe you should have another profession too. It's advised, so you're not leaning on your students. And do your sadhana, do a harder sadhana. Do work on yourself till you get to the point where people say, yeah, so-and-so's giving a class, let's go. It's 100 miles away, but it's worth the trip. Let's go. Let's all pile in a car and let's go see him or her. Does that make sense to you? Think about it. So this internet is a very low denominator. It's a leveler. Anybody can put something out on YouTube. Anybody. But if you're presenting yourself as a teacher of Kundalini Yoga, people should come to you. People should yearn to come to you if you're any kind of a teacher. Yeah? Think about it. Right? That's point number 2. Point number 3. Yeah, people have been telling me, well, a lot of yoga centers closed during COVID because there was nobody coming. They couldn't pay the rent. And so now we're starting from scratch. Yeah? We have, and online's easy. There's no overhead, right? We don't have to rent anything. Yeah? So for me, I see Kundalini Yoga, the teaching of the Yogi Bhajan, the dawning of the Aquarian age. I see this as a kind of a mission, raising people's awareness. And so I look at history, in the old days, the early Christian times, where did the Christians go? I mean, there was a price on their head. If they were found out, they could be thrown to the lions. So they went in the catacombs, they went in the tombs, in the caves where the bodies were. And that's where they met, and that's where they celebrated. I'm not suggesting you go to the cemeteries, although in India there's a long tradition. The yogis go to the cemeteries. It's a very sobering environment. But, we sometimes have our classes in a park. Right? It doesn't cost anything to go to a park. You can do as I did. I don't have a big house. That was part of the test too, They knew they were going to be squeezed into my little room here. But they thought it was worth it. And we did it, we did it. We squeezed ourselves in. I took some furniture and put it out, and we managed. Or, there's an option. You can rent a place, without a whole lot of commitment. Don't make a 10-year lease. Just rent a place. And if need be, you can, possibly go to your student's place. That's not the best option. It's not. I'll tell you why. Guru Nanak taught us a lot. And he said, in this crazy time, the students pay the piper. The students pay the piper. The students call the tune, and the teacher dances. And the teacher comes to their house, and the students run the show. And you don't want to be in that situation. I know, maybe you've heard of Gurmukh Kaur in Los Angeles. She taught. She had an interesting experience teaching the celebrities. Go to their mansion, pays you a lot of money, but they don't want to do anything. They're in bed. They want to have toast with you, and so it easily lends itself to pandering, going to your student's house, and you're in their domain. Better they come to your house, or go to a center, or go to a park, or go to a graveyard, and go someplace, where they have to stretch themselves a bit. We do our sadhana on top of a hill. Yeah, you have to climb up the hill. It's fantastic. The view, the sunrise, it's fantastic. But you can't do this in bed. You've got to get out and do some work. So number 2, there's a whole dynamic of meeting your teacher. Don't miss that. Don't deprive your students of that. And don't beggar yourself. Don't degrade the student-teacher experience over the internet. Okay. So that's the third point. And oh wow, so we have the concept of the master's touch. The master's touch. It's a healing touch. But it's also a human touch. It's a human touch. You experience the master's touch. You experience the master's presence, their radiance, their geniality, their humanity in person. You know, feel how they feel. You, you're in their presence. You're in their aura. It's important. Technology mediates, creates a barrier. It can create a medium. It can come in a sense. It can bring you together. You can see what the teacher looks like, but it's also a barrier. And if we go towards technology, if we start leaning on internet classes, despite Yogi Bhajan's guidance, it's I meditate on this. I'll think about it. The next thing, maybe a few steps down the road, is we have cyborgs. They look like people, but they're robots, and we can have them programmed to teach Kundalini Yoga. It's one of the scariest things I can think of. Because what's Kundalini Yoga? It's becoming fully human, becoming real. And you're going to have a cyborg teach you how to be human? And not even to speak of the possibility of distortion, either just through the weakness of the weakness of the technology, or even somebody, maybe a few generations of technology down the road, can actually distort the message to suit them, and you won't even know it. You're thinking, oh, I'm learning Kundalini Yoga from my cyborg, Swami cyborg, blah, blah, blah. Think about it and run away. You don't want that. All right? So if you couldn't think that far ahead, I did it for you just now. So don't go there. What have we got else? Oh, yeah. Well, some people say, well, times change. Yogi Bhajan taught it this way, and now it's a few years later, and everything changes, So we got to change with the times. Oh, my. I thought it was a very clever yogi at one time. I don't so much anymore. And at the time I thought, well, I know how these kriyas work. I think I can design a kriya myself. And so I thought, A, B, C, D, blah, blah, blah. And so I wrote my teacher. I wrote Yogi-ji. I said, well, what do you think? And he wrote me back and he said, never change the teachings. Stick with them. Keep them pure. Yeah? And that was not 100 years ago. The internet was alive and well at the time, and times have not changed. Some things do change. Hopefully, we can change for the better, but the teachings don't change. The Guru Granth Sahib doesn't change. The Shabad Guru. We don't just change mantras because we don't like the sound of a mantra. All right, if you don't like the sound of a mantra, chant another mantra, but you're not going to change the mantra. Because the mantra is sacred. Some things are sacred. And so some things are just, and it can be hard. It can be hard not to teach online. You got very comfortable, you got an income flow, everything is groovy, and then this guy, Guru Fatha Singh, says, well, wait a minute. And you get very mad at him, and you want to keep your thing going, you got a good thing going, you're in a comfort zone. But don't forget, the first pillar of yoga, according to Rishi Patanjali, is tapas. Tapas means hardship. Tapas means discomfort. So don't get in your comfort zone too much if you're a yogi. If you're a real yogi, you embrace discomfort. You embrace challenge. Second pillar, if you wonder, is self-study. The third pillar is self-sacrifice and service. But the first one is discomfort. So don't get into a zone where, oh, I'm so comfortable. In Japji Sahib, it says, Ketiya dukh bhuk sadma, ebi dat teri datar. So any discomfort, any disruption to my regular routine, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. Because it inspires you. What do we say? Necessity is the mother of invention, right? So it inspires you. It possibly can inspire you to grow and to evolve. even to evolve your methodology in teaching, you know, and to evolve to become a better teacher. So people don't mind coming to see you from a distance. Yeah, we came thousands of miles to see Yogi Ji. All right. So what else are we gonna say? Yeah. Yogi Bhajan told us, you know, obey, serve, love, excel. Obey, serve. But first you have to listen. You know, if you can't listen to hear what the teacher is telling you, there's no point in. What are you going to obey? So the teaching was, do not change the teachings. Do not teach online for your own sake. Obey, serve, love, excel. Don't be a nervous wreck because you've been going against these teachings and risking your health teaching online, right? Well, we're in a time where standards, my perception is standards have come down a bit, quite a bit. I remember Fatha Singh talking about when he came to Los Angeles, the ashram. Well, they'd get up bright and early and do an hour of Kundalini Yoga, then they'd do 2.5 hours of long chant. And then they'd do another yoga class later in the day. And another class. That was Kundalini Yoga. Now we say, ooh, I'd like to drink a little bit of wine and trim my hair and a little bit of Kundalini Yoga and a lot of money teaching classes and life is good. No, I don't think so. There's a saying, comfort, this is from Rehras, it's the evening prayer. Comfort is the disease and discomfort is the cure, because in comfort you forget what the hell you're doing. You forget where you came from. You forget the God, the infinite, because you're so into your little zone, so much into that. So I know there's a school of thought these days that, our teacher was a schmuck, but I am a great teacher. Well, really? If your teacher was a schmuck, I think odds are that you're a schmuck too. I mean, just speaking frankly. My teacher was a great teacher, And if you want to dilute the teachings and abuse the one who gave those teachings to you, if you want to go back to your old ways, you want to be Margaret Polimus or whatever your name, John Smith, whatever it was, God bless you. But that's not Kundalini Yoga. And don't pretend to be an authority on Kundalini Yoga and to be in the hierarchy of Kundalini Yoga. We don't really have a hierarchy. Yogaji always said he was at the bottom. It's an inverted pyramid. It requires humility and authenticity. Stick with the teachings. Or leave, We don't need a big following. We don't need a lot of Mukhya, Singh, Sab, Sardani, blah, blah. We don't need all these status carriers. We don't need... I'm not going to talk too much about this, but be authentic for heaven's sake and be grateful. Fantastic teachings. Nobody said Yogi Bhajan was perfect. I'm not perfect. And we have something in common with you, because guess what? You're not perfect either. But the teachings have a lot of promise if we practice them authentically, and if we present them authentically, and if we present them with a sense of aspiration. Let's get better in our practice, in our presentation. Let's do that. Let's have live classes. Let's do that again. We are the people of love. Let's sing that. Let's do it. Not the people of intrigue and the people of, nonsense. So that's most of the story. Lastly, if we have so I've given this some thought. I know some innocent people have been teaching during the pandemic, during the COVID online, and they say, what do I do? Did I do wrong? Here's how you can do that. How you can keep your community together, your students, and still convey Kundalini Yoga. So first thing, record a kriya, videotape it, like this is a videotape, make a recording of it, share it with your students. Yeah? So they get it, it's recorded, and there's no live teaching going on, right? And then check in with them. Have your meetings with them, have a Zoom, with everybody and say, hey, did you get the thing? Did you get the kriya? And now you encourage them to practice the kriya and to check in again how it was. And then you say, well, we're going to do another recording. I'm going to send it out to you. And that's how we're going to do it. And if you want to practice the kriya with a buddy, then you can do that too. You have another Zoom. But the teachings are not being taught live. You can practice them live. You can encourage people live. But where you draw the line is you don't teach it live. Okay? And if somebody did that, just another plug for the Guru Ramdas Center for the Healing Arts in New Mexico. Go to grdcenter.org and they can help you out, and God bless you. Okay, I hope this makes sense to you. There are a lot of arguments for doing the wrong thing, but these are the rationales for doing the right thing. All right, God bless you. You can get in touch with me if you have any questions, and may the long-time sun shine and shine and shine in your heart, in your mind, and in your life, so that you can be a lighthouse and share with everybody. Okay, God bless you. Satnam.